Chapter 11. Home. Gilgamesh knelt on the bank of the pool, vomiting his misery in great retching sobs. He beat his torn fists on the ground and howled like a wild animal. All gone, Urshanabi. What was it all for? All those weeks, all that suffering and pain. What am I? Nobody. Some sick old man with nothing to show for it but tears. Oh, I wouldn't say. Urshanabi murmured comfort, but Gilgamesh was deaf to anything but his own lament. They traveled back through the garden of the gods, gathering up gemstones like so many fallen petals from under the flower bushes. They stumbled back through the Mashu mountain. Somehow, it was not so dark for two. Besides, the darkness inside Gilgamesh was 10 times as black. They traveled back through the gates of Shamash, where the scorpion guards stared at them in astonishment. They traveled back through the mountain pass where the lions had prowled. There seemed to be just as many as before, but now Gilgamesh was startled by their beauty. Their hides suited them better than they had him. He did not want to slaughter them. They would be soon enough dead, bereft of their lithe, elegant beauty. "Tell me about Uruk," said Urshanabi, and Gilgamesh found he was eager to do so. The city is 1 part field, 1 part town, 1 part gardens. Then there are the temples, of course, wonders of the world. The water from the river is ducted through the city, threads of silver everywhere, like wire in a tapestry. The wall is high and curved. The foundations were laid in the days of the 7 sages. Even when the bull of heaven stamped, those walls stayed standing. Urshanabi listened without interrupting. "My builders are the best. My masons take pride in their work, and my gardeners are skilled at grafting and pruning." "I wonder you ever left such a place," Urshanabi remarked mildly. So too did Gilgamesh when he saw Uruk. Each familiar roof and tower and window was like the features of a well-loved face. The perfumes of his childhood came to the gate to meet him. At least he had lived to see it all again. As he walked through the streets, people idly looked up at these 2 grubby strangers. A murmur of excitement built up in their wake. Can it be? It can't be. The king, you mean? Never. He's long dead, surely. Come and see. Go and tell the children. Look, look, Gilgamesh the mighty has come home. Where are the banners? See how white his hair? Where has he been? An inexpressible tenderness filled Gilgamesh. After being in lonely, distant places, it was good to see so many familiar faces. After the brown of the stony wilderness, the black of the mountain's interior, he wondered at the multicolors of the city. He had forgotten how many flowers there were, how the awnings and drying washing added to the gold of masonry, the red of the terracotta. He had forgotten all the noises, too. Women singing, dogs barking, chickens cackling, donkeys braying, the vendors shouting their wares. Only the sound of building had fallen quiet, with no one to order new towers or temples. A woman's voice drifted from a window. "Worst news I've heard. Must we go back to war and work?" She came to her window and looked out, straight into the face of the king. Her eyes, already fearful, widened into terror as she realized he had heard her. She feared for her life. Gilgamesh returned her a smile, an awkward, grimacing smile, realizing how rarely he had ever smiled before. At his shoulder, the ferryman stood gazing about him. "Well, Urshanabi, didn't I say it was the finest city in the world?" Urshanabi smiled and nodded. At last, Gilgamesh's tour of the city brought them to the curved friezes depicting the deeds of past heroes. There was Utnapishtim, his odd cube-shaped ark wedged on a mountaintop. There were the 7 sages, And there were Enkidu and Gilgamesh bringing home the tallest tree from the cedar forest to build new gates for Uruk. And this, I take it, is Enkidu, said the ferryman. Gilgamesh had left Uruk before the scene was carved. At first he could not bear to look at it. Then he could not stop looking. His hand reached out towards the figure carved high up, far larger than life, in bas-relief. His fingers came to rest on the ankle of Enkidu. I came back, friend, just as I was, but I came back. Urshanabi saw that his eyes were full of tears. The ferryman smiled and shook his head. Nothing could be further from the truth.